Yo, what's going on, guys? Sekapoko here, bringing you another Genshin Impact video. For this one, we're going over a showcase for Xiangling, talking about her best artifacts and weapons, giving you an idea of what to expect and my experiences playing the unit, as well as what I would do for early, mid, and late game. So, guys, without further ado, let's go ahead and jump right into it. All right, so for this showcase, what we'll be doing is Xiangling is a very complicated character with lots of different weapon possibilities. Unfortunately, though, when I was going through weapons and possible different weapons that we could have, I don't have a lot of good weapons for her. And the 3-star spears that are out there are kind of like, one of them is going to increase damage for slimes, which I did try initially, and it was okay. Another one is going to do normal attacks, can deal another spike hit, which is also kind of good. And the last one over here is increase normal attack damage by 24%, and this one is good. So this one, it would be the weapon I would choose as a 3-star weapon if I was going to be building out her as a main DPS. This is the one right here, NAD damage. The one I have right now is a Favonius Lance, and the reason I got a Favonius Lance, and what I'm building for is a crit build with energy recharge rate, trying to go for ulti rush constantly. And when we're doing the showcase, we're showing off how Xiangling can be a main DPS by just constantly getting her ulti up. And this shows how you can do that with a Favonius Lance. We'll also be talking about other weapons that we can do, and this is what I had to do for what I personally have to do right now for Xiangling to optimize her kit in order to constantly do damage with her. The crit, so you don't know if about any of the Favonius weapons. All the Favonius sets are going to have energy recharge rate and base attack, and they're going to all crit hits that you deal have a chance to generate a small amount of elemental particles, which regenerate 6 energy for the character, and it can only happen every 12 seconds. So I have a kind of crit build on her so that I can actually get those crits up and get a giant energy surge at that point. And because I have extra energy recharge, we're constantly getting more stuff. So the crit build, you can only get it every 12 seconds, but if you get more dupes of the Favonius Lance, you can have it every 6 seconds, I believe, at max rank. So or every 7, I think. I gotta look it up and everything. But that is basically what I'm doing right now with the Favonius Lance. There are better weapons, and I'm gonna go into those and what you could potentially do for her, and that's why I'm working on right now. Shit, yeah, actually, okay, so every level of this for the Favonius Lance, by the way, will bring it down by 1.5 seconds. So at max, it'll be at 6 seconds. What I found on the best main DPS weapon for her is going to be one of these 3 5-star weapons. Pretty much all of them are good in some way, and you can just build your skills in a different way to do that. My preference would probably be the Skyward Spine, because the Skyward Spine would help you in getting the characters pulled toward you, and then you can actually do the knockups and kind of juggle. That would be my preference, so that you can actually get more effective auto attacks. Preference. But like the Primordial Jade Spear might actually be the highest DPS one, because you can actually get lots of stacks of damage in here, so you might get a little bit more damage, plus she has crit rate on it, so you can get some big damage in there for a giant crit build on her. And then the Karuni, I didn't even know if this weapon existed, but increases damage against enemies affected by any element, which is like really good because your bear's out a lot, or you're dropping water and doing lots of things. So this one also might be good. I've never even heard of this weapon, but apparently exists. So 5-star weapons that are good. All right, so going over the 4-star weapons, let's go our way up. When we talk about the best 3-star weapon, my preference for a support build Xiangling is gonna be, so for the best possible weapon right now for Xiangling support, for a 4-star weapon, my guess is between the Dragon's Bane and the Deathmatch. I prefer, if I was going to take one over the other, I would say the Deathmatch is a better option, because the Deathmatch is going to give you just flat attack, either 16 or 24% based on the number of enemies that are around you, and it's a weapon that has crit rate. So you can actually build a crit rate build with your bear, build it for the crit damage, and get the bear out with just doing crit damage. If you're just going to be doing that, you're dropping a bear, switching to the next character, doing damage. So that's how the support build will work. The Dragon's Bane would apply the Pyro, and if it hits before the first hit, maybe it's a little bit better, maybe it's a little worse. It really just depends. I'm not really sure if the Dragon's Bane is going to be a better weapon for her, but it is an option, so that is where to go. That's what I would say as a support build Xiangling. As a main DPS Xiangling, I'd say if you're going to be using her for a 4-star weapon, the one I would say would be the best would be... If you're going for fizz damage, the Lithic Spear is kind of cool. Like, you get a physical damage bonus, which is a multiple. This is actually increases your overall damage by a pretty significant multiplier, and you have a chance to get the next charge attack performed in the following increased by 40%. So that means if you get a big thing, if you finish your auto attack rotation, which was, you know, if this NAD has a 20% chance to hit and you hit like freaking 9 times or 12 times, you're probably going to proc that. And then at the end of your full rotation, use a charge attack. That charge attack damage is massive, so that would say that would be a really good way to go if you're going to go for a flat damage build. You can probably get some crit chance on that build, and it would do pretty good, and I think that would be a good way to go. The other one I would go for, if you want to go for like a hybrid fire and damage build, another one would be really, really good would be the Dragon's Bane, of course, for a main DPS unit, because you can, of course, use a fire damage build with her and do large amounts of damage with her to get Elemental Mastery, get procs off. So if you have other characters in the field that are using a support DPS and using the bear to get procs out all the time, you then can get Elemental Mastery to get your bear to do a little bit more damage. That would be a very smart way to go if you're using Xiangling as main DPS for building up for fire. If you're building out for just white damage attacks, you want to go for a crit build. Obviously, 5-star weapons, any of the 3 are very, very strong. Any of them will work. I'd say there's no real optimal choice between all 3 of them because they're all pretty good for different ways of playing the character. But for 4-star weapons, that's what I would choose as far as the weapon goes if you had a choice. Go over artifacts with Xiangling. Right now, what I'm rocking is going to be a half Gladiator and half Berserker set. The reason I'm running this is because I want 18% extra attack on my Xiangling from the half Gladiator set. And if I do wanted to, I would go, of course, for the 4 set piece bonus to get extra damage being dealt for normal attacks by 35% for the 4-piece Gladiator. But unfortunately, I do not have that. And then if we go to the other details that we have, of course, if I go into her kit, right now she has a 35% crit rate chance with 145% energy recharge rate, which means that so I can get large amounts of energy gain, and making it so that I can get my ultimate up multiple times, or elemental burst up multiple times during the fight. And that was why when you saw me doing lots of damage, I was getting the ultimate up. Chill, girl, chill. Getting the ultimate up constantly. So that was a very, very powerful thing for me to get the ultimate up a lot. So if you wanted to like rush between ultimates, that's a good way to go. But then again, I shouldn't have gone for a fizz damage build if I was going for that. I probably should have gone for a more pyro damage build. But unfortunately for artifacts, I do not have a pyro damage piece. I only have this one fizz damage piece that you can see. I went through every artifact trying to find new artifacts, and I could not find a pyro damage piece that would really work for me. So if I do get one in the future, I will probably try to use it and use it for this build. I have tried Xiangling in the past with an Exile build as far as the very early game and trying that out. So if you're more toward the mid game, this is what I would build for it. But if you're in an early game, Exile is really, really fun because in an Exile build or Instructor build, if you do a hybrid between the two, you get your ultimate up a lot more often. So that's what I would do for the early game build is Exile/Instructor or full Instructor or full Exile. If you're going to be using her as a main, and you just rely more on your actual elemental synergy damage versus your actual white damage. Now, the thing about Xiangling, which is really interesting, is her talent set is more geared toward increasing the flame range of Gobu, and then when Gobu attacks at the end of the effect, leaves a chili pepper in the spot when it disappeared. Picking it up will increase attack by 10%. So her build is really kind of a weird hybrid build, and when you go into her constellations and talk about those, the enemy's pyro resistance is reduced, and they also have abilities that the last attack, normal attack in the Sukin applies implode status for an enemy for 2 seconds, and an explosion will occur once its duration ends, dealing 75% of Xiangling's attack as pyro damage. So a lot of her kit is surrounding pyro damage versus actual NAD. So pyro damage, again, seems like the better way to go. The third one, of course, Pyronado duration is increased by 40%, which is huge. You get a big burst on like how long your actual Pyronado is out, which is amazing. That's like if it started at 10, it's going to 14 seconds now, which is awesome. And then the final one for her last constellation set, for the duration of Pyronado, all party members are getting 15% pyro damage. So everything in her kit, the more dupes you get, everything is geared toward pyro damage. So a fizz damage build like I have right now is not optimal. But if you want to go for more attack, and if you don't have the pyro damage piece, it's a little bit better. Going for a full NAD build for her isn't really how you get the big hits on her. Even with, as we saw in the maximizing your fizz damage, the major damage that we saw in the video was directly from pyro damage. So please, if you're going to be building her, pyro damage is due. Here we go. What I would recommend for players if they're going to be building Xiangling is going to be the Crimson Witch of the Flames. The reason that would be the best build for her is because, as you can see, clearly there is a lot of on her kit that is reliant on pyro damage, and the Crimson Witch of the Flame for an endgame build will give you the most amount of pyro damage. Physical damage from like Bloodstained Shrivelate, it would be another option if you want to go for white damage build, but as you can tell, most of her damage and most of her kit is geared toward the pyro damage, so you want to go for that. If you wanted to go for other damage like elemental burst damage, another way you could go, of course, with the Noblesse Oblige, which would be a very, very good way to go. The reason that would be good is because elemental burst damage, which is your pyronado, the thing that circles around you, we increase by 20% in damage, and after using an elemental burst, all party members get a 20% attack bonus. This is a very good set for support Xiangling for late game. This is a very, very good set for that Noblesse Oblige, so you can pop your pyronado, switch to a different character, and use that character as your primary DPS if you want to use her as a support DPS. That is a perfect way to go for support, for endgame support. For early game, though, of course, instructor sets as well as exile sets are the way to go. Elemental synergy to get that up, but exile is my preference. If you want to go berserker, you can, but I prefer to go with exile when I was in the early game with Xiangling every single time. Otherwise, for other sets that you can go for, gladiator sets, sojourner sets, those things are all fine. Those are good sets, but that's what I would do. Alright guys, well, my name is Sekapoko. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope it was useful for you. Let me know in the comment section down below, of course, what character you want me to do next. We got like 750 likes on the last video, of course. And thank you so much for all the likes on the video. If we get over, we do the same again on this video, 750 likes, of course, I'll put another one for the next highest voted character on the top comment on the list. So whatever the highest voted or upvoted comment is, of course, we're going to do for the next video. Last time it was close between like Venti and Xiangling, but Xiangling was a clear winner. So if you guys want to do another one, let me know. Thank you guys for watching. Have a great rest of the day, guys. Peace.